All right, I just got a message that we're live. I'm gonna
Yes.
take that to the bank. And good morning, everybody. In 10 seconds, it will be 8 a.m. on Tuesday, the 27th for the April 27, 2021 meeting of the Southborough Board of Selectmen. And I will very quickly read, it is now 8 o'clock by my clock, Governor's intro. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 38, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Southborough Board of Selectmen will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and a requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website at www.southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch or participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner by finding the meeting at www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceeding as soon as possible after the meeting. And with that, at now 8:01, I'll call the meeting to order. Good morning, everybody. Pretty short agenda this morning. And why don't we go right to the first item, which is a public hearing scheduled at 8 a.m. for a Class 2 license application for RAD Exotics LLC at 251 Turnpike Road. And I see Mr. Sigler. Am I saying your name right, sir? All right, and you're on mute.
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to read the public hearing notice?
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Mark.
The Southborough Board of Selectmen shall hold a public hearing Tuesday, April 27, 2021, 8 a.m. to consider a Class 2 license application from RAD Exotics LLC to be located at 251 Turnpike Road in Southborough. The public hearing will be held in a virtual meeting and may be viewed by the public through a link located at www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. All interested parties are encouraged to view and/or participate.
And again, good morning, Mr. Sigler. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Good, thanks. Mr. Sigler, and you may or may not have seen one of our selectmen's meetings anymore, but we'll go around in a semicircle and ask you some questions and maybe some comments after we get going. But first, why don't you give us a real thumbnail sketch about a little bit about your background, particularly as it relates to your business venture and your plans for the business at 251 Turnpike. How's that sound?
Sure, happy to do so.
Okay.
Again, as you obviously know, my name is David Sigler. I have for the past 20 plus years been in the highline and exotic end of the automobile business. I've worked for a couple of the larger groups in the area. As general manager of both Ferrari store. I started the McLaren store that's in Norwell. And yeah, I really worked for somebody at the time, but most recently worked for the McGovern Auto Group for the last 3 years and have finally decided to venture out and do this on my own. But I live in Southborough. The building, the former Prime Volvo building is within walking distance from me. It became, very much popped up on my radar when I realized that nobody was going in there. So been something I've been working on for a while. Love the town, thought it was a great spot for what I do. Finally, everything came together and was able to make everything work out and happen in a relatively short period of time. So very, very excited to get going. And any questions you have about the business or the spot in particular, feel free.
All right, why don't I start up? Ms. Braccio, go to you first.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning, David. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
It's nice to see someone that lives in Southborough also open a business in Southborough. So very nice to see that. I actually only have one question, and it's more related for Mr. Purple, I think, than yourself. I just wanted to make sure that number 7 on the form of requirements, Mark, wasn't checked. It was for the bond. Was that supposed to be checked?
I resubmitted that with it checked. I had a question about it before I checked it originally, but yes, it is now checked. I resubmitted that to Lori, checked off, and that's already done. The bond is already done. So.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't going to hold up your grand opening. And that's my second question. When is your grand opening?
We're shooting for give or take around June for a soft open. Grand opening, hopefully, should everything go as planned, give or take around September.
Okay, wonderful. Congratulations. And I look forward to supporting your license.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Lisa. Ms. Malinowski.
Good morning, David.
Good morning.
We're excited to have a new business in town. I do not have any questions. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
All right, David, it seems like you submitted a pretty good application. Mr.
I
Shea.
hope so.
Morning, David. I as well have no questions and wish you success and hope, certainly it sounds as though you have great experience from other places where you've worked, and hope you're very, very successful.
Well, good morning and thank you.
And Mr. Stivers.
Thank you. Good morning, David. Excited to have a new business going in here. This has been a place that has been obvious by its emptiness for a while, and
Yes.
a new inhabitant. I do have a question. Do you plan to sell mostly new vehicles or used vehicles or a combination, or what do you think you're going to get?
At this time, it will be mostly or pretty much all pre-owned cars. I have engaged in non-disclosure agreements with 2 different manufacturers. Those things take time. Ultimately, we think there's a high degree of likelihood that we will be able to add at least 1 franchise. But for the time being, pre-owned cars is our focus and probably will always remain so. It's a really important part of this end of the business.
How many employees do you expect to have at that location, roughly?
We'll open with give or take around 5. Probably within 12 months, we'll ramp up to maybe close to double that.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe between 8 and 10 ultimately, as we're really fully functioning.
Mm-hmm. More for service ultimately than sales as you get.
Probably a fairly even split. We won't do a ton of service work other than internally for our own cars. We won't do a lot of external service work.
Okay, and those are my questions. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, David, I'm just curious. I saw the parking spaces and the like. When you're at sort of full bore, what do you expect the volume to be of cars on the lot?
In terms of inventory, fully functioning, probably somewhere at a max of around 70 to 75 cars. We'll probably typically have fewer. Our cars obviously on a per unit basis are more costly, more expensive, eat up more floor plan than your average dealership. But we won't ever have a high volume dealer level of inventory. So we have 110 spaces total. There'll always be plenty of customer parking, even fully functioning.
All right, terrific. Well, as we find ourselves in April 2021, it really is a pleasure to have an application for a business opening. It's been a tough 15 months or so.
I'm sure.
So with that, I will. I just want to make sure I get the language correct.
So actually, I'll move that we close the public hearing first,
Oh, right.
assuming there aren't any other
Public?
attendees that have comments.
Let me look real quick at the participants. We do, Ms. Houlihan.
Hi there. Good morning.
Hey, Marnie, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Sigler. I'm in a butter, Marnie Houlihan, 26 Clifford Street, and I'm right behind the street that runs parallel to Route 9. And just as a good neighbor, previous business owners had agreed with the neighborhood when they do test drives to abide by the speed limits. So we would just request that you continue to carry on the goodwill as a business owner on our streets to just mind this, that sometimes we would catch a previous owner and their drivers either doing service or test driving the cars would take it on a 25-mile-an-hour road, but they would take it quite quickly. So we would just request that. So that's my first comment.
Yeah, good morning. A pleasure to meet you. I happen to be your neighbor. I live on Clifford Road or Clifford Street myself. And not a chance anybody will go anywhere near Clifford Road with a car, service or sales wise, but we won't do a ton of test drives anyway, given the nature of what we have. But your question is certainly a fair and reasonable one, and nothing to worry about from us.
Wonderful. Thank you. And welcome to the neighborhood. Maybe you've been here for years and we just have never met. So it's nice to meet you.
Thank
And
you.
then
Pleasure to
my-
meet you as well. Yes, 3 years I've been.
And then my second question is actually, it really has nothing to do with the your business internally. It's the exterior. I just seen the paint. Is that the plan to keep it that very royal blue color?
It is, but it's when you see the finished products, it'll make a lot more sense. It's a fairly drastic change for sure, but it will make a whole lot of sense when everything's done. A lot of thoughts gone into design for interior and exterior. So yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're
And
very welcome.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marnie. All right, and I'm looking at the roster of attendees, and I don't see any other hands up. So with that, Mr. Shea, your motion was to close the public hearing, correct?
Correct.
I'll second that.
Second.
Discussion none. Ms. Braccio,
Aye.
Ms. Malinowski,
Aye.
Mr. Shea,
Aye.
Mr. Stivers,
Aye.
and Mr. Healy is aye. The public hearing is closed at 8:11 a.m. And with the public hearing closed, I will move to approve the Class 2 license application for RAD Exotics LLC at 251 Turnpike Road as submitted.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Shea. Discussion. None. Ms. Braccio,
Aye.
Ms. Malinowski,
Aye.
Mr. Shea,
Aye.
Mr. Stivers,
Aye.
and Mr. Healy is aye. Mr. Sigler, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you very much to all of you, and certainly look forward to a great relationship.
All right, and good luck with your business.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we're on to item 3, our consent agenda. One item, so I will very quickly move to appoint Katie Berry as Board of Selectmen Administrative Assistant.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Braccio. Discussion, other than I would think accolades for Ms. Berry. Ms. Braccio,
Aye.
Ms. Malinowski,
Aye.
Mr. Shea,
Aye.
Mr. Stivers,
Aye.
and Mr. Healy is aye. That's a surprise that Katie was approved 5-0. All right. Other matters properly before the board. I suspect there's nothing, but all right. And finally, public comment. All right. Going once, going twice. I move to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Stivers. Discussion none. Ms. Braccio,
Aye.
Ms. Malinowski,
Aye.
Mr. Shea,
Aye.
Mr. Stivers,
Aye.
and the final thing I will note is, Mr. Shea, I don't know what I'm gonna do without you though. Or actually maybe it'll be somebody else's problem, because otherwise I'd never be closing these public hearings. They'd be going on for 2 or 3 years. So Mr. Healy is aye for adjourning as well. We are adjourned at 8:13 a.m. Have a good day.